Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me today, and as always, is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter. It is Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
We are closing in on the end of August, man.
It's the last week of August. When you got here today, I was like, Charlie, this is the week. All summer, I was like, how do we do a daily Flyers show? Especially, like, you look at their cap situation, you look, okay, they didn't really want to shake up the roster too much. Yes, Michkov is here. I know you have a big problem with me saying they did nothing when the most important thing happened. But they added him, and that's really the only difference between last year and this year's roster. There were no, a lot of off-the-ice stories. We'll get to some today. But, like, how do we get through this offseason when it's like, all right, yeah, they're just kind of running it back and it's another evaluation year? Important. They need to evaluate. I'm not saying it's a bad plan. Don't know if it's good yet, but I'm not saying it's a bad plan. It's just this is what happened.
Right.
How do we do this? And honestly, we got to August 26th, and I think we did pretty damn well.
I would say, I would want to make this clear, because I've had so many people in Discord and on Twitter say this to me, and I'm going to give you shit for this, was how the hell did Bill actually believe that the Flyers were not going to give you guys content during the summer? Like, you were convinced in May and June. You're like, I don't know how we're going to fill these shows. I'm like, Bill, we cover the Flyers. They're always doing crazy shit.
But that's the thing is, like...
And they sure did.
It seems as if Danny and Jonesy have at least passing interest in restoring that part of the Flyers.
Yes.
But, like... I don't know, man. They were the Flyers under Chuck Fletcher, and it's like, yeah, we'll see. You know, and they would add guys, and it was like, yeah, it's not even that big a story.
Say what you will about Chuck Fletcher. Chuck Fletcher
did stuff.
He did stuff.
Yeah.
It just often wasn't good stuff. But he did
I liked
stuff.
a lot of it. It was just like didn't work.
Yeah.
Like sometimes shit don't work. But no, I'm happy with the way we got through the summer, and I'm looking forward to today's show because we're going to talk a little bit about things we're looking forward to for this season because I think there is a lot. Obviously, Michkov at the top of the list, but just the way we're going to cover the season coming up and the things we're looking forward to. But first, Charlie, next week, the toll prices are going up. And it's going to affect you as well because you're going to have to go to Jersey when the season starts.
I do. I go to Jersey nearly every day.
Every day during the season.
Not ideal for me.
It sucks.
It's going to cut into my beer money big time.
Yeah, $1 a day every day.
It adds up, man.
It adds up.
That's up.
You know what I spend on booze, you know? Energy drinks, like, come on. But this is a thing that's happening, and it's very annoying. I just want to know, will $6 get me 3 lanes? Will I get to have all the lanes opened? When I get on the bridge at 10:50 a.m. every morning to come here, will I be forced into a bottleneck of 1 or 2 lanes for, I don't know, nothing's going on. It's just cones. Maybe it's cone storage. We're out of places to put the cones, so we just have to put them on the bridge. I don't know.
There's a cone quota.
Maybe there's a cone quota. I want to know if at 2:20 p.m. when I get on the bridge to go home every day, am I going to be forced to interact with a whole bunch of people who have no idea how to merge, and they need to now merge because there's a lane closed for, again, no apparent reason. Just, if I have to pay $6 to go to work every day, can I get all the goddamn lanes? Like, I'm not asking for a ton. I'm not asking for the bridge not to look like it's falling down. Like, it's going to look like that. But can it just be 3 lanes? That's all. You don't even need the extra 4th one with the barrier. I understand I'm traveling at different times than the barriers move sometimes. Just the ones that are available, can they be opened?
William, it doesn't seem like you're asking for much. And for our viewers who are not local, who maybe never grew up, never grew up in the Philadelphia area, or it's been decades since they've lived in the Philadelphia area. We have multiple bridges that go connecting New Jersey to Pennsylvania, or New Jersey really to Philadelphia, since that's where we have our show and that's where most people live in and around. And for years, it has been $5 to get back from New Jersey back into Pennsylvania. They're upping it to $6. That is the frustration point for one William Matz.
It is. It's very frustrating. Like, I know the DRPA is a bunch of crooks, so there's nothing that can be done about this. But God damn it. Like, just give me my lanes. Just give me my lanes. That's all. Speaking of our out-of-town contingent, Charlie, I do want to get to Eric Thomas, a listener who lives in Jacksonville, but his family for years is from Bucks County. He's an avid listener of the show. And he sent us a little care package today, so I wanted to give him a shout out.
We have great listeners.
Eric Thomas ruled
great viewers, great listeners.
Yeah, I was up
great
here.
diehards.
I'm just up here, like in the office, getting some prep work for the show done, and one of our producers comes in, like, Bill, there's a package for you downstairs. I was like, go check it out. It's like, I don't know, maybe it was like some sort of advertiser
the
thing.
The Flyers sent you a bribe.
Yeah, maybe the Flyers sent me a bribe. Maybe an advertiser just sent me some like product of something we're going to be advertising soon. Yeah. These things happen on a regular basis.
They do.
I open it up, and it's like a box of old Flyers and Eagles jerseys. It's really sick. He's like, I was trying to sell these, and it was like, I don't care. I'm just going to give them away, and decide to donate them to PHLY.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make them part of our set. Maybe we can include them in giveaways or something.
Well, at events, we do giveaways all the time at our events.
Yeah. Whatever it might be.
Another reason to come to our events.
Awesome that someone thought of us. Like, I got this stuff. Let me see what I can do with it. Oh, I'll send it to Bill and Charlie.
Yeah, thank you.
That was very cool.
Much
so thanks to Eric for that. And finally, speaking of giveaways, I have come up with a way to give away the first set of tickets to the Flyers Rangers Rookie Series. We have tickets to give away for that Friday, September 13th game. It's at 7:05 in Allentown at the PPL Center, the Phantoms Arena. It's going to be a ton of fun. It should, in all likelihood, be Matvei Michkov's first time suiting up in a Flyers uniform. I have 4 sets of tickets for this first giveaway. And this is very simple. This is a diehard-only giveaway, so if you are not yet a diehard, there's still time to sign up. Go to allphly.com, sign up to be a diehard. Once you are a diehard, or if you already are, all you have to do is DM me in the PHLY Discord. Super easy. Send me a DM in the PHLY Discord. Say you want to enter this contest. Every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, I'm literally going to have all the names in a hat, and I'm going to pull one out each day. And then you get a pair of tickets to go to the Flyers Rangers Rookie Series game on Friday, September 13th. I think that's a pretty fair way to do it. I think it's a fairly simple way to do it. I'm trying to come up with like a social media aspect of this, because that's how a lot of people want to do giveaways. Like, like and retweet. I don't feel like verifying who's actually a diehard and who isn't. So just DM me in the Discord, and like, I want serious inquiries only. Like, if you live in Jacksonville, Eric, very much appreciate your patronage. But chances are you're not going to come up for a random Friday in Allentown. Like, we have a certain number of tickets. I want to fill these seats. I hope people can go. It's an hour 20 up the road to go to Allentown. So that's it. Real simple. DM me in the PHLY Discord. And tell me you're interested, and your name goes in the hat, and you will be entered to win on one of the 4 days, the rest of the week. And if you don't win this week, I'm going to come up with something else. We have a bunch of other tickets for next week.
Yeah, too. And I think one thing that's worth pointing out, because one thing I've noticed, and I really do love our Discord, I think it's a lot of fun. The Flyers section, everybody tells me, is the most active and bonkers section.
Jamie Lynch is always like, dude, the Flyers Discord's insane.
Of all of them. But one thing I seem to be picking up on the Discord, and it makes sense why it selects for people like this, it seems like a lot of the most active people in the Discord are people that are not in Philly.
Yeah.
A lot of the big talkers are people who are on the West Coast, in the Midwest, in Canada, in Florida, whatever. So obviously a lot of those are not going to be, DMing you because they can't come. But what that leads me to believe is that we have a lot of diehards and regular listeners, regular viewers who are not in the Discord. And I'd like to
entry in
and invite you in. If you are not on the Discord, if you're already a diehard, but you're not in the Discord, you just go to allphly.com, go to the diehard section, go to diehard lounge, and then you can get an invite. I believe when you sign up, you do get an email invite. But sometimes that slips through the cracks. Maybe you forgot about it. Maybe you signed up way back last September. You get on there through allphly.com, get in the Discord, DM Bill, and then, hey, maybe you see the crazy level of discourse in the Discord, in the Flyers Discord, and maybe you want to join in. You want to join in the conversation. I can tell you this. One of the reasons why I'm spending less and less time on Twitter is because I'm spending more and more time in the Discord, because it's just better conversation. It's significantly more intelligent, more nuanced conversation than you get on Twitter. I'm not giving up on Twitter entirely. I'm still posting. I'm still tweeting. And during the season, I'm obviously live tweeting games and stuff. But in terms of actually having interesting conversations that isn't limited to a certain amount of characters, which makes it tough for you to fully articulate your actual beliefs, Discord is just way better. So I'm spending more time there, and I'd love to get more and more people in.
And this will be a good intro. Like, if you're not in listen, the Discord's intimidating. I go in there, I'm like, this seems like a running conversation that's been going on for a year. Like, do I just jump in? Like, but you can, and then we'll have a meetup before.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, got to start somewhere. There will be a meetup before the game in Allentown at a bar near there. I think we know of a couple places. We're going to see if we can get like a whole bunch of people in there to meet up, and then we'll go to the game. So it'll be awesome. Meet some people in person that maybe you've talked to in the Discord, make some new friends, whatever it might be. So it's going to be a great time. But yeah, Charlie, you saw it. Did you see the Twitter conversation I got in? Someone incredibly just like aggressive with my opinion on Claude Giroux.
I missed this entirely.
I am by no means like the biggest Giroux defender. I have criticized him plenty in my time doing this over the years. Like, I think he might be underrated overall.
I'm probably more of a Giroux defender than you are.
I think he's one of the best players we'll ever see in this town. I think he could have done more at different times, but overall, I think he ruled. But it was someone was having a conversation about the Hall of Fame worthy thing that we did the other day, and I just posted the little chart I used on the show of his teammates' points per game. It was like, Jágr at 39 years old for one season, he's third on the team. Like, basically, look at these guys. None of these guys were good enough, and somehow it got interpreted as I'm blaming the bottom six. It's like, no.
I'm actually blaming the top six.
I'm blaming all the guys.
I
have a list of players who played in the top six, and those are the guys I'm talking about. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I am done with Twitter. And it was just, yes or no, you think Jake Voracek was overrated? Like, I don't owe you an explanation of anything. I don't care. Like if you're going to be that aggressive, I just don't need to talk to you. Like, as soon as I hit lock on my phone, you no longer exist. Right. Like, it is insane. So join the Discord. It's way less insane.
Or it is insane. But it's insane
in a good way.
It's insane in a much less insufferable way.
Yes,
I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
It's insane in it's Flyers fans, so they're passionate.
Yeah, of course.
But they'll have a conversation with you and just not start yelling at you about something you didn't say.
Yeah.
I love pancakes, so you hate waffles.
Yeah, and if someone does start yelling, we usually get some good peer pressure. And, if they really start yelling, then maybe they get a little timeout.
A little timeout. This would be a good time for Choose Chill.
Choose Chill.
Yeah. You have one after this?
I have a Choose Chill?
You have a Parks.
Oh.
After I do Coors.
Oh, sure.
Okay. I'll do Coors first.
Cool.
So we're talking about Choose and Chill. I totally forgot to say this to Charlie before the show. It's Monday. Listen, between work, social media, the choices life throws our way, it's no wonder we're more worked up than ever. Coors Light celebrates rising above and choosing a chill mindset. Why not turn a rained-out barbecue into a karaoke house party? Or after a tough loss, settle scores with an ice-cold peace offering. Make the choice to choose chill, then reach for a Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment. And listen, this team, they drive us nuts. That's what we're talking about. That's why I sometimes need to choose to chill. And it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting any less fired up as more and more people kind of jump on this bandwagon. That's why I need to chill, and there's no better way to celebrate that choice than with an ice-cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about maybe, our new rookie's going to win the Calder Trophy. Whether you're freaking out about who the starting goalie is going to be. Maybe you're freaking out about a ticket giveaway. You really want to go to this rookie game. You need to find the Blue Mountains in your fridge and enjoy a beer as cold as the Rockies, because when everything surrounding your favorite hockey team is on fire, sometimes you just got to chill. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And if you're looking for a place to choose chill, if you're looking for a place that, just might actually serve Coors Lights, possibly I would recommend one Bet Parks Casino. It's perfect for after-work get-togethers, date night, girls' night out. You sip on tantalizing drinks, soak up what is left of those warmer weather, good vibes right now at Parks Casino. My casino of choice. I remember going to Philadelphia Park as a kid with my parents, actually. Wasn't like a diehard horse racing person, but I have positive vibes dating back decades about Parks Casino. Obviously, now Philadelphia Park is now Parks Casino, and it now offers an epic $5 happy hour with great food and drink every Wednesday through Sunday at the Liberty Bell Gastro Pub. You got $5 drafts of Ford Stout, Victory Seasonal, Parks Pills, $5 glass of Albertoni Cabernet, and then the drink of the summer, $5 Twisted Tea, Frozen Whiskey Arnold Palmer's. Summer is here. There's still a few weeks left. Actually, if we're going by the actual season, it's probably about a month left. To me, once you get to September, this is still me being in school mode. Start of September is the end of the summer because I'm sorry, Labor Day is when it ends. But technically, summer goes through what? Like the first 3 weeks of September? So you got time. Summer's still here. All roads lead to Parks Casino, the #1 casino in Pennsylvania. And if you're not a drinker, if that's not your thing, if you're more of a do things kind of person, obviously Parks Casino is indeed a casino. It's got 3,200 state-of-the-art slots, 115 live table games, a beautiful poker room. Let's say maybe you're not a drinker, you're not a gambler. Well, guess what? There is a collection of incredible award-winning restaurants. They have shows there all the time. Tiffany Haddish is playing on September 27th. If you're looking for tickets to that show, go to parkscasino.com. And there's headliners every weekend at the 1,500-seat Excite Center. Cover bands every weekend at the 360 Lounge. There's just so much to do. Now, for the quick little disclaimer, you visit parkscasino.com. You must be 21 or older. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Parks Casino, William. This is how you win.
It is. It certainly is. And I guess there's a couple more topics coming up that I probably need to chill about. The first of which, Askarov to San Jose. They complete the trade with the Predators to get the #1 goalie prospect in the NHL. Charlie is so ready to just be like, can this be over now? No, it won't be over until the Flyers add somebody. That's it.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Exactly. If Danny wants me to stop, he knows what he can do. Go get literally anybody. I'm not saying he needs to do it right now. I am saying he needs to do it at some point. I realize maybe the Flyers have their goalie plan, and listen, you made a great point the last time we talked about this. All right, yeah, the Predators are this team that constantly finds these goalies and defensemen. The fact that they're like, yeah, we're sticking with the old guy and we're going to ship out the #1 goalie prospect maybe says something about who this goalie prospect is. But the fact is, San Jose is a rebuilding team, much like the Flyers. Unlike the Flyers, they are bottoming out.
Yeah, they're doing it a different way.
They were not an NHL team last year, despite the result of the first meeting between the Sharks and Flyers. Something I may never get over. Yeah. My Stanley Cup last year.
It was a good one.
That was the early season highlight, I would say, of PHLY Flyers. Like, I just lost my shit in that post.
You sure did.
Anyway,
they lost to a winless team. It makes sense.
They were the first. It was the most predictable thing of all time, but it was still very avoidable. Anyway, the Sharks are a rebuilding team. There are several of these teams in this spot right now.
Right.
The Flyers, the Sharks, the Ducks, the Blackhawks. Montreal, I guess, but they seem to have been doing it for several years. Yeah, but they had to kind of.
They've basically been doing it since the season after they made the unlikely run of the Cup final.
Yeah.
Because that was when they lost Carey Price and Shea Weber. And it was like, well, I guess that was our window.
Would you say, talent acquisition-wise, core future pieces, all those teams are ahead of the Flyers?
I guess it just depends on what you mean by talent acquisition. Because, yeah, I think that the Sharks, if you're looking at the Sharks in particular, the Sharks do have a clearly identifiable, we're hoping this is our core group. They have obviously Macklin Celebrini, who, they won the lottery, but they were real bad. I mean, they put themselves in position to win that lottery because they were real friggin' terrible, and they won the lottery. They have him. They have Will Smith, who they got the year before with the 4th overall pick. They have Sam Dickinson, who they got right before the Flyers pick this year, who I really like. I'm a big Sam Dickinson fan. They have William Eklund, who played his first full rookie year this past year. They have Now they have Askarov. They have that Shakur Mukhamadullin defenseman they got in the Devils trade from the Timo Meier deal. So they have pieces. To me, you're looking at, I guess it's Celebrini, Smith, Askarov, Dickinson. I think those are your big ones. I don't know if I'm forgetting another player. I think I might be forgetting another guy. Eklund, top 10 pick, so he's in there. I don't think he was incredible in his rookie year, but the upside's there. He has top 6, if not top line potential, to be sure. So there's excitement there. The thing is that I would say, aside from Celebrini, who is a slam dunk, like he's going to be a real good player. It's just a matter of how good he's going to be. I don't think any of those guys are locks to be core players. Like, they have the theoretical upside to be. Dickinson has the theoretical upside to be a top pair defenseman. Will Smith could be a first line center, or like a first line caliber center playing 2C because Celebrini is a superstar. They have, Eklund could be a first line wing, but we don't know. You're hoping. They have the pedigree. They are blue chip quality prospects. Mukhamadullin probably isn't, but the other guys are. Doesn't mean they're going to pan out, though. I think that's the difference, is that, the Flyers have a bunch of guys who are at the very least good players that are in their early to mid 20s. Like, I don't know what Cam York is going to be, but I know he's an above average NHL player. I know Owen Tippett and Morgan Frost are above average NHL players. I know Joel Farabee is an above average NHL player. I think Tyson Forster is already an above average NHL player. Now, what are their ceilings? I guess we're going to find out, but they're just a little bit further along in the process. It would not shock me at all, for example, if Joel Farabee ultimately is a better NHL player than William Eklund. I don't think it's definite. William Eklund has probably higher theoretical upside, but I think that the trap that a lot of people online in particular fall into, and it's because online people tend to obsess over prospects. It's hope. We're selling hope here. They look at somebody like Askarov and like they can't envision a world where he's not a stud. And you look at the Sharks core, and you say, they have so many high-end players that are at the top of prospect rankings. Look at that core. It's going to be so good. That's not a guarantee. And I think that's kind of where I'm not saying they're not going to pan out. I'm just saying that you can't look at an Askarov or an Eklund or even a Will Smith. A Celebrini, sure. He's a number 1 pick. Those guys rarely bust. And he is generally viewed to be like a Jack Hughes level talent.
Yeah.
The guys that are a tier below, though, they do underwhelm sometimes. So, yes, in theory, you look at the Sharks and you say, yeah, they have a core of theoretical blue chippers that the Flyers, aside from Michkov, probably don't have. But I don't think it's a guarantee that any of those guys end up being true NHL blue chippers. They could be, but it's not a guarantee.
I think, and it's a trap we fall. Like, I look at so many of the Flyers pieces, especially at forward, and I like a lot of what they have. Mm-hmm. But I liked Wayne Simmons, Braden Shen, that crop of guys. And it wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. And we had Claude Giroux, who, whether you want to put him in the superstar tier or that next, he was good enough to be at least 1A, 1B best player in a cup team.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he wasn't Absolutely. Crosby because fucking nobody is. Yeah. But I think maybe if you had Giroux and another Giroux, you're well on your way to assembling a Stanley Cup team.
I personally think Giroux was very much, in terms of on ice, I guess if you want to argue that he has this mystical captaincy, but I think he's on par with Taves. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they were in the same tier of quality of player. It's just that Taves won cups and Giroux did.
But that group wasn't good enough. And I look at this group of guys now, and yeah, like we could see Tyson Forster and Owen Tippett take huge steps, and it's like, oh, well, then they are closer to that next tier. But short of that happening, you look at this, and unless Matvei Michkov is on heart ballots every year, that level of player, I'm not saying he wins or he's a finalist, but yeah, he's getting votes. He's that good. Is there a path to getting better than what we just had in the previous era, which was a massive disappointment? And as I framed it on last week's show and on Twitter this weekend, like a waste of one of the best players we're ever going to see. Like, and I know it's so fun. Like we're saying, okay, so Matvei Michkov 10 years from now, the Flyers are going to be mishandled. And like, I know that that's a pessimistic way of thinking. It's just like, I see these other teams stocking. Look at what the Ducks have. if the Ducks, half of their guys turn out, they have a hell of a core. And it's like if half of the Flyers guys turn out, it's Matvei Michkov and a bunch of second liners.
I guess and there's a couple points I want to make in argument to what you're saying. The first point I'll make, though, is more about like the Anaheims and the San Jose's. And this is the philosophical disagreement that the Flyers have with the way that they are doing their rebuilds, with the way the San Jose and Anaheim, for example, are. It's that the Flyers believe, like there are obviously exceptions. I think Celebrini is an exception. McDavid is an exception. There are some guys that are so good that it does not matter where they develop. They are going to jump in and be freaking awesome immediately. We're hoping Michkov is one of those guys. But I guess we'll see. We'll see how good he is. The Flyers believe that guys like Will Smith and guys like Eklund and guys like Sam Dickinson, if they come in where they are real good prospects,
the next
tier down, if they come into a team that doesn't have support, that is gutted because they tanked, because they purposely torched the roster and don't have a lot of veteran support, it's a bunch of guys who are battling for contracts and then other rookies that are also trying to figure out the NHL at the time, they don't think those guys are going to develop as well as they would if they were on a team that had a strong coach at the top and depth up and down the lineup and veterans who, bring a positive attitude to the locker room and things like that. The Flyers believe that the mistake that the Ducks and the Sharks are making is that, well, those teams have more theoretical talent. The theoretical talent is not going to turn into actual talent without the infrastructure to support them. That's the Flyers' belief. Now, time will tell if they are right or not. But that is the Flyers' belief. And that is where I think fans can... It's definitely the big point of disagreement because fans who are really, really into prospects look at the Ducks and look at the Sharks and say, oh my God, they have all these great young players. They are going to be awesome. And I guess what we've seen is that teams that's like, not saying it doesn't happen this way all the time. Like the Blackhawks had Taves and Kane and Keith eventually, and then they all panned out and they had a superstar team. But there are a lot of teams where 4 years before it didn't work, you looked at their prospect pipeline, and you're like, oh man, they have 6 blue chip guys. There's their future core. And then, Ristolainen stinks, and Eichel gets into an argument with them about injuries, and Reiner gets traded and is better elsewhere. And then suddenly all those blue chippers don't actually work out because the organization was a fucking shit show. That's what, in theory, like you can't rule out the possibility that that's how this plays out in San Jose just because they have all these shiny new toys. Like that might not work because, not even because the players are bad, but because they're not properly developed because the organization isn't good enough to take advantage of them. That's where the Flyers are coming from with their plan. And I gather that a lot of people on social media in particular who love thinking that like, oh, well, he's the 6th best prospect. That means he's definitely going to be a stud. It's not necessarily how it works, especially if you're entering into an organization that doesn't have the infrastructure. Again, that's the way the Flyers are looking at it.
I get the way the Flyers are looking at it, and I've said I don't agree. This isn't the way I would do it. That's not to say it wouldn't work. I'd be a GM if I thought I could be a GM, I'm not saying it can't work that way. I just I almost find it laughable. Like your example, if the Flyers are thinking of it this, well, that organization's a shit show. Yeah. Are they? Do you think, if you were to sit down with Danny and be like, so you think you're closer to, being an A organization than being the Buffalo Sabres? Because, you already had your Eichel situation with Cutter Gauthier. There was one of your shiny. It didn't work out.
Okay.
Those things. This organization is a constant dumpster fire.
I don't think it is anymore. But I understand why fans think it is. I understand why frustrated fans think the Flyers are a shit show. I don't think they are anymore, but I get why there's frustration and there's a belief that
I can understand why they think it one day won't be. But while John Tortorella, and this is John Tortorella and the organization being these are two different things, but it's going to be a ridiculous environment as long as John Tortorella is here. That's part of the experience.
Sure.
And they think that experience is more of a trial by fire than it is a hindrance to development.
That's their view.
But we will see if that is true or not with how these young players continue to develop. I look at this team and go, the number one thing they need is top-end talent. There have been some guys, and we can argue, like, is Askarov really that good? Is Rucker McGroarty really that? But these dudes have been available. The Flyers have not landed them. I don't see how this team gets better until they acquire someone of that ilk.
Okay.
Not those players specifically. Who the hell knows? Those guys both might stink. It's just like we need to be targeting these dudes. We're not. How do we get better?
I just get the sense, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, and it's hard for me. It's been hard for me to figure out a way to articulate it, and I think I figured out a way to articulate it. In the 2010s, Flyers fans watched a lot of very, very highly talented prospects in their organization not pan out to the degree that they expected them to. These were guys that were universally, the Flyers for like 2 years were rated the top prospect pool in the league, or at least top 5. And they watched a lot of these guys. They watched, Nolan Patrick, Ivan Provorov, Travis Konechny for a while, Travis Sand. Like, they watched a lot of guys who the national consensus about them as prospects were they're going to be studs. They watched a lot of those guys not pan out. And I guess I thought, and I did think this for a while, I thought that the takeaway from that from Flyers fans was going to be maybe we shouldn't trust that like prospects are going to develop. Like we shouldn't just look at like, oh, he's in the top 10 of like the Athletics prospect ranking. He's destined to be a star. Maybe we should pull back on our expectations of prospects and reflect on the fact that, like, yes, it's exciting to get blue chip prospects because they have maybe a 20-25% chance of becoming a star. But there's also a very significant possibility they just become good. And then the thing is that you get a lot of these guys, the more you get them, more of them you get, the more of a chance you have of one or two of them exploding. I thought the takeaway was going to be, let's be less optimistic about prospect outcomes. I think what actually happened was this. Flyers fans are, with the obvious exception being Michkov, Flyers fans are less optimistic about Flyers prospects outcomes, but they still think that everyone else's prospects are going to pan out and be awesome.
I don't. Yes and no.
Like the chatter about Askarov to me was bonkers. It was like, oh, Askarov is destined to be a number one goalie. It's like, maybe, but that's not a certainty. I get the sense that a lot of Flyers fans, particularly online, think that everyone else's prospects are definitely going to pan out and ours aren't because they are our prospects.
I think yes and no. Like, yes, there's definitely just that pessimism that, like, well, our guys just never turn out.
But everyone else's will.
I think the takeaway was drafting in the teens and 20s has less of a chance of finding the guys you need. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you can find your Scott Laughtons. You can even find your Travis Konechnys. Like, redraft that 2015, Travis Konechny probably goes a lot higher. That was a nice find for them. Ivan Provorov might go a lot lower, though. And it's like, how can we raise our chances? Because now that there's a salary cap, and I know it's been 20 years, but like, there's a salary cap now. It's not just we can steal other teams' best players. You have to entice them to come here. They have to want to choose you as a free agent, or you have to have enough assets to go out and acquire someone in a trade. And if it's a really good player, they have to want to waive their no trade to come here. You have to be able to afford them under the cap if they do want to come here. All that shit. The easiest way is drafting in the top 5, top 10. They don't seem that interested in doing that. Mm-hmm. And so it just keeps raising the question. All right, these other guys are available. We don't want them. We're not signing free agents yet. We're not making trades yet. Probably the smart move to still evaluate your guys, but they're not doing that. You're not trading for other prospects who might have higher ceilings than your current crop. How and when do they get the guys they need? Mm-hmm. Because this team currently, if everyone on this team hits their ceiling, is it a Stanley Cup contender? Because I don't think so. Like, the blue line is not good.
I don't think the blue line is bad, but I agree it's not.
It's not a Stanley Cup.
Well, you know what? I actually disagree with that. I think if Jamie Drysdale hits his ceiling, and I think his ceiling is top pair, 55 to 60 points a year defenseman. If Cam York hits his ceiling, which is play driving top pair defenseman, there's your top pair. Then you have a damn freaking good top pair. Travis Sanheim is a really good number 3. Yeah, I think if everyone hits their ceiling, the defense is more than good. Now, I don't think everyone's going to hit their ceiling.
Exactly.
But No, I think if everyone hits their ceiling, it's good enough, sure. Because I have a very high opinion of Jamie Drysdale and Cam York's theoretical ceilings.
Okay, so that's probably where we differ. I think those are good players. I would like AT, and I know I want Norris contenders, and those are hard to come by and almost impossible to, but like, that seems to be the path teams take to winning Stanley Cups.
Yeah. I guess, and this is a debate I got on Twitter on Friday about William Eklund, and there were some people, because I basically said, like, look, like, Eklund maybe could be a core player, but he wasn't anything special in his rookie year, and people lost their shit on me. They're like, how could you possibly say William Eklund isn't that good? And that's fair. If Sharks fans lose their shit on me, I get that. I had Flyers fans being like, you don't know shit, William Eklund's awesome. And the point I made was, if William Eklund had the rookie season he had for the Sharks last year, and he was a Flyer, if he scored 40-ish points with mediocre underlying metrics, Flyers fans would decide he fucking sucks. He's a bust. Why do they use a top 10 pick on him? He's bad. Because I'm watching the same thing happen with Jamie Drysdale, where they watched him for a half a season when he was playing injured, and now they want to throw him to the fucking wolves because they think he's terrible. And my point is that when you're looking at William Eklund from afar, you can be like, he's awesome. He's so talented. He's a top 10 pick. But if you watch him up close and he was a Flyer, you would think he stinks because he's not immediately living up to your expectation, which speaks to my point of everyone else's prospects are going to pan out. But if they're ours, they're going to bust because they're ours.
And to that, I keep seeing predictions for like a stat line. We'll have a prediction show in September. I'm not ready to do that yet. But I just keep seeing like, specifically Michkov predictions, whether it's like Mertidis or people on Twitter, whatever it is. And all people I like. I really don't follow anyone I don't like. And it's like in the 40-ish range of points. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a real disappointment. Mm-hmm. And not even like, oh, I'm going to turn on him. I'll think it's like, yeah, man, if he has 44 points, I'm going to be like, what the fuck? Like, we need considerably more than that, you know? Yeah. And it's not, like, is that even fair? Probably not, because he's coming over. It's his first year in the country. Like, I get all that stuff. It's just, like, we need you to hit so badly.
Oh, yeah.
Scoring 60 points instead of 46 is going to change my opinion. Like, that's a big gap right there, you know? I don't need him to be a point-a-game guy. It would be nice. But, like, yeah, man, if it's in the 40s, that's going to be a big disappointment. And it's just like, okay, so that's another one of, yeah, maybe not quite as good as I was hoping.
But taking this back to the original debate, I guess my point is that I like what the Sharks are doing. I think they have built themselves a really intriguing, going to be fun to follow from afar, theoretical core. And it very well could work. I just think that Flyers fans, really hockey fans in general, but Flyers fans specifically, because this is just a very big topic of conversation and big point of debate right now, because the Flyers are also going through a rebuild that they are doing differently than those teams. You can fall into the trap of looking at that core and becoming convinced, certain that every one of those guys is going to hit their ceilings and they're going to be awesome and that's going to be their future core. It is not nearly as certain. I think if there's one consistent theme of me on this show, it's be less certain. Be less certain about everything. Everything happen. Like, if you are looking at what might happen, think in terms of probabilities, not in terms of certainties. And then articulate your opinions in terms of, and this isn't directed to you necessarily, this is directed at the fan base. Express your opinions in terms of likelihood probabilities. You don't have to be like, well, there's a 20% chance there, but like, think of it in that way rather than, I know for certain Jamie Drysdale sucks, or I know for certain Joel Farabee's never going to get any better, or I know for certain that Will Smith is going to be a star because I like him. Like, there are no certainties. There's only probabilities. And I think that people look at the Anaheim prospect pool from afar and the San Jose prospect pool from afar, and they assume that all of those guys are going to hit. They cut those guys the benefit of the doubt in a way that they don't cut the Flyers any bit of the benefit of the doubt whatsoever. And I'm not saying that the Flyers plan is destined to work. What I am saying is that it could work. And what I'm saying is that Flyers fans look at the Sharks and the Ducks and they say, that is destined to work. When in reality, their plans aren't destined to work either. It could work, just like the Flyers plan could work. And we can quibble on which is more likely to work. But I don't like the framing of, oh my God, look at the Sharks. They're going to be so good. They might be. They might not be.
And that's my framing is just like looking at the talent pools. One is more likely. Like if you have all these guys. Now, like, listen, Owen Tippett was what? The 10th overall pick?
Right.
Like he was a top 10 pick.
Right.
Matvei Michkov probably should have gone in the top 5 at minimum, and you got him at 7. That was luck.
Jamie Drysdale
was a 6th overall. So you traded. That's basically like the equivalent of the Penguins Winnipeg trade, where you traded 2 guys in different years who went in the same spot. You traded a 5th for a 6th overall, like basically the same kind of thing. And look at the return Winnipeg got. It's like, Flyers basically did the same thing with Cutter. But Jamie Drysdale, because he has NHL experience, it's like, well, he's no longer a shiny new toy.
Yeah,
he's no longer a shiny new toy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get all that. It's just like there is evidence of these guys playing to suggest that they are not going to be stars. And with like the Flyers have great depth. I love what the Flyers have in terms of who could be, your 4th through 6th defenseman, who could be in your bottom 6. All that shit is great. It's just like, are the guys at the top good enough? Because that was the problem last time. And don't have them yet.
That's the other thing I wanted that I got sidetracked as I went into the big conversation about the other teams rather than Flyers. I actually disagree with you that the Flyers at the top were not good enough. What I think was the case, and this speaks to what we talked about on Friday about Giroux and Voracek, but Giroux in particular not getting enough help. I think that really at its core, what went wrong with the Flyers' 2010 plan was when they did have good enough players at the top, they didn't have the second tier. And then when they got the second tier, the guys at the top weren't as good.
I
think if you could, and to be clear, I don't think like the Hextall generated prospect pool ultimately did not meet the high expectations we had.
Sure.
However, I think if you could, and you obviously can't do this because you can't adjust time and stick 10 people in a time machine and move them back 5 years. But I think if you took let's say like the Hextall generated like second core of Konechny, Provorov, Hart before the legal stuff, Sanheim, that whole actually good depth, Farabee those first couple years, the guys who were on the team with Giroux and Voracek when they were still good but not as good as they used to be. If you could take that supporting cast and put them on the 2012, 2013, 2014 Flyers, I think that team is a cup contender because I think the star players, Giroux, Voracek, Simmons, were good enough to be star players on a cup contender. They just had zero help. Then Hextall did get the help, but that help was only going to be good enough if those guys were still as good as they were when they were 24.
Yeah. And there was a roller coaster through those years. The years I looked at were 11, 12 through 18, 19. And to me, the biggest problem, the forward depth, probably good enough at different times.
The defense was terrible.
The defense, at no point did they have a number one defenseman. There was that 1 year of Provy and Ghost together where they were awesome. A year, 2 years of Steve Mason. They never had a number one goalie. No. The best goalie was fucking old-ass Brian Elliott. Is that what we're talking about? 1 year of Carter Hart before the dip came and he was inconsistent.
But I disagree with you about the forward depth. I think that the forward depth, there were parts of it that were okay, but it fell off a freaking cliff.
Yes.
The third line center, I'm thinking back to 2017, 2018, which is probably 2017, 2018 in retrospect.
Probably the last.
That was the closest you came to a bridge between the depth getting better and the core, and Giroux, Voracek guys still being elite. That was the closest you got to a bridge. And even that team, your third line center was fucking Valtteri Filppula.
Yeah, that's
Andrew McDonald played a not insignificant role. The depth was still real bad. That was a team that was carried by Giroux, Voracek, Ghost, Provorov, Konechny when he was with Giroux, and then Couturier. And Couturier was kind of the bridge because that's when he went from being decent depth to holy shit, he's a top of the lineup player. What I'm saying is that I don't think the Flyers' problem during that era was that the top end guys weren't good enough. I think if you could take the depth they had from 2018 through 2021 and put that on a team with peak Giroux, peak Voracek, peak Simmons, I think that's a cup contender. The problem is that for the plan to actually have worked, number one, they would have needed to have better coaching, which they didn't have because they got one good year of Vigneault, and that was really about it they had for good coaching during that run. But number two, by the time the depth that Hextall drafted and developed was good enough to be quality depth to support a star, the stars weren't true stars anymore.
Yes.
They would have needed a couple of those guys, a couple of the depth guys they drafted and developed to go full Dallas, and none of them did.
None. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks. Man, our friends at Ace Hardware, I love doing these reads because honestly, it's a tremendous service that they're providing with the all-new Ace Hardware Home Services. Listen, if you got a leaky pipe at Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person to do the fixing. Got an air conditioning issue? They've got a person for that. Maybe you have that one house project, like say a leaky faucet that you were like, I'll get to that, and you look at the calendar, go, oh, I said that about a year ago. They have a person for that too, because now Ace isn't just the helpful hardware folks. They're also the home service and repair folks. From plumbing to heating and cooling, Ace has got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, we're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project today. All right, and this is another fun one because, man, who doesn't love an event? Well, the TrueMark Pickleball Tournament is coming up. It is approaching quickly. TrueMark Financial Care Foundation is hosting a charity pickleball event to raise money for financial education in our local communities. For those of you who might have been at the PHLY golf outing, you might remember our friends from TrueMark, and this is to benefit their foundational charity. The event is September 7th at the Upper Dublin Sports Center in Ambler, PA, from 1:30 to 5 p.m. It's a round-robin tournament. You don't need previous experience playing pickleball to play. They'll have a certified pickleball pro on site to overview the game for anyone who's never played before. You don't need any of the prior experience, and there's even going to be paddles and balls available to use for free. Cost to play, just $50 to benefit the charity. All players will get a swag bag from TrueMark and PHLY. If you want to get your company involved in a sponsorship opportunity and have your logo on display at the event, they're selling a variety of sponsorships as well, from $200 to $1,000. So whatever level you want to get in on, it's a great event to do so. And even if you don't want to play pickleball, you can still support the event. There's going to be food and beer trucks on site, and a percentage of the proceeds will go to the charity as well. There's going to be music, lawn games, 50-50 raffles, fun prizes and giveaways. Going to be a great time. I'm going to be at the event. I'm going to be hanging out. There's going to be live broadcast from the event. So come spend a Saturday playing pickleball for a good cause, or just eating and drinking, hang out with some other PHLY fans as well. And the best part, as a PHLY fan, you get a 10% discount on registration. Just register at TrueMark.com/PHLY pickleball. And while you're checking out TrueMark, listen, man, back to school craziness is here. Holidays just around the corner. You know what happens, man. As soon as that weather turns, it's Christmas, basically. All of that coming up. Tons of expenses, new clothes, backpacks, all that stuff. TrueMark Financial's Reward Visa credit card makes it more rewarding. Not only can you earn 1 point for every dollar spent, if you open a new Rewards Visa credit card by August 31st, so get on it this week, you'll get a $50 gift card. Who doesn't love free money? Yep, you can apply online at TrueMark.com/PHLY rewards. Terms and conditions apply. Visit TrueMark.com/PHLY rewards for details. Federally insured by the NCUA, and equal opportunity lender. All right, Chuck. I have to get to this because it's so goddamn funny.
I've done enough discourse of this on Twitter, so we can just kind of breeze through this, but it is very funny.
Are Habs fans okay?
No, they're not.
What is the matter with them? I saw this on Twitter today. Someone sent it to us. At Browncoat Ghost is who sent it to me. This is to advertise a fucking preseason game.
It's very clearly AI generated. That is true.
The Flyers player has a claw hand with a tiny fist for a thumb, so obviously it's AI generated.
We're pointing basically on the Habs Reddit. They posted a picture of a Habs player beating up a Flyers player, AI generated, to promote the September 23rd preseason game. For whatever reason, Montreal, the online section of Montreal Canadiens fans have decided that the Flyers are their rival because they are still mad that their team didn't draft Matvei Michkov last year.
The Flyers drafted a guy who fell to them. They had no interest in drafting him, otherwise they would. And now it's this big Demidov thing, and it's like, we never had a chance to take him. He's yours. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get... This is insane to me.
It's very, very well.
I just saw this and had to bring it up today because it's, one, the image is garbage, and two, it's so freaking funny. Like, what's the matter with them? It's a preseason game. It's barely hockey.
The point I made on Twitter, I guess it was Sunday, Saturday. I don't remember. Days aren't real. But the point I made is that every time they keep trying to make this a thing, because like the comparison I made was it's an example. It's like when, you have a crush on someone and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, and then you end up in another relationship and you spend all of your time talking about how much hotter your new partner is than the person who you couldn't be with. And it's like, dude, if you were really happy with the person you're with now, you wouldn't be constantly talking about the person that you didn't get. Like, just be like, Demidov is probably going to be awesome. Just revel in the fact that he's probably going to be awesome. Why do you keep having to talk about Michkov? Like, the fact that you keep talking about Michkov shows that you're not over Michkov. Like, just get over it. You didn't get him. You got a cool Russian. Be happy with your cool Russian. Why does Michkov even matter to you still?
The whole thing just comes off as very like, man, you ain't beating those weirdo allegations anytime soon.
Exactly.
But whatever. There was a new 32 Thoughts this week where Elliot Friedman basically was like, here, I'm dropping this. Now leave me alone for a week. The season's starting soon, which I really appreciate. Shout out, Elliot. But there's a couple Flyers-related notes in there I wanted to get to. The first one is he says he didn't get to ask Bill Daly about the Ryan Johansen situation, but it does seem as if he at least has some background information.
Maybe he got to ask Bill Daly, but not on the record.
Yeah, he got to ask somebody at some point. Yeah. First thing I wanted to ask Charlie is, now maybe this is a like paper move that doesn't get the big press release the way the initial we're putting him on waivers to terminate his contract does, but from all accounts, it doesn't seem as if the Flyers have actually like executed the contract termination part of this thing after the waivers.
They've certainly not announced it, which tells me they haven't done it yet.
Maybe there's other hurdles that need to be. Maybe there
really are.
We got to cross T's, dot I's.
Yeah, there really are. They could do it. They now could do it whenever they want.
In all likelihood, do you think this is like we're pre-negotiating a settlement?
Yes. I think that there is negotiating being done, because my interpretation of the CBA, and I don't see any way I'm wrong on this, is you can't file a grievance on something that hasn't happened yet. So like it's not as if the NHLPA can file a grievance until the Flyers actually material breach terminate the contract. And as far as we know, they have not done that yet because they have not announced that they've terminated the contract and they haven't put through the final paperwork yet. So this tells me that there is some sort of backroom negotiation going on between, the Flyers and the NHL and the NHLPA, and then, Johansson and Kurt Overhart and everybody. And it's like, how can we, because the key point that Friedman noted in his 32 Thoughts was that, and he's right, this is the point that I made last week when we broke it down, is that generally speaking, neither side wants this stuff to get to an arbitrator.
If you set a precedent, that's now the rule.
That is now the precedent. And neither side wants to take the risk of there being a precedent one way or the other. The NHL doesn't want to take the risk of teams not having the ability to do material breaches. And the NHLPA doesn't want to set the precedent of teams being able to do material breaches whenever the hell they want.
You can just no buyout, nothing, drop a dude. It seriously changes the whole guaranteed nature of the contract.
Exactly.
If it's like, yeah, man, getting hurt is a material breach. Like, oh, Yeah? Is it?
Yeah. So it's in their best interest, both sides' best interest, to come to some sort of settlement. I would assume what is going on now is the two sides are talking to see if there is any way that they can resolve this without the Flyers having to resort to actually terminating the deal and citing the material breach. Like, who the hell knows? Truly the funniest resolution to this by far would be Johansson shows up to camp and is healthy. That would be utterly hilarious.
Makes the team
so funny.
Scores 40 points this year.
Truly, the funniest outcome is Johansson shows up and says, yeah, I went to another doctor and decided I could play through it.
I'm getting another injection. I'll play through it.
I don't think that is going to happen. But that would be by far the funniest outcome.
Like, how willing are you to make $8 million? Like, what are you willing to do for $8 million? Yeah. It's very funny. I will say it's the timing, and Friedman noted this in the column, like, there might actually be a part of, if this were to say, go to arbitration and both sides have, evidence exhibited, the Flyers really might have like a fucking Snapchat video or whatever the kids use now of Johansson dancing at his wedding and be like, how hurt are you?
Yeah, lifting up his wife while
how
dancing.
Hurt are you?
Yeah, with the debilitating hip injury. Yes. No, and that's something I appreciate that Elliot was the one who actually put it in a column because we've all been thinking.
Yeah.
We've all been thinking that, like, yes, the timing is weird. Why would you do it now? He just got married the weekend before, and there are pictures of him. Like, he ain't walking around the dance floor on crutches. He's moving around pretty good. We saw the videos. They were out. They were posted. Now, do I think that, and we talked about this, me and you talked about this a little bit before the show. Is it possible that the Flyers weren't going to do this, saw the videos, and then out of a fit of rage decided, fuck it, we're material breaching this contract? I guess it's possible. It doesn't seem likely.
I think it's just like,
that would be something that Bob Clark
we're looking for evidence, and here's some.
Yeah. That to me strikes me as a little bit more that the Flyers always had this in their back pocket. Because the other point that Friedman made, and I reported this as well last week on the show, was that the Flyers would not have put him on the conditional waivers with the intention of a mutual of a material termination of the contract if the NHL wasn't willing to have their back. And Friedman says the Flyers wouldn't have done this if they wouldn't have gotten a nod from the NHL that they were okay with basically potentially having to go to court to support this. Because ultimately, if this goes to an arbitrator, it would be the NHL versus the NHLPA. The Flyers would not have done this if they didn't know the NHL wouldn't have their backs if it went to court. So the NHL gave, whether it was explicit or tacit approval, they gave approval. Perhaps the Flyers have been trying to do this for a while, and they have been presenting their evidence to the NHL, and the NHL have been saying, yeah, this isn't enough. We're not going to let you, this isn't enough for a material breach. We're not going to let you do it. You just got to deal with it. And then maybe the Flyers sent those videos to the NHL and were like, come on. You're going to tell me that he's injured. And then the NHL was like, all right, fine. This is enough evidence. We'll back you. And then they did it. That strikes me as more plausible than the Flyers threw a temper tantrum because they saw him dancing at his wedding.
And before we wrap up today, we very much want to thank all of our diehards out there. Couldn't do what we do here at PHLY. And listen, diehards, all you got to do to be in the running to win some of those tickets to the Flyers Rookie Series game, DM me in the Discord. Thank you to our diehards. Yeah, the way I looked at this was like the timing of scheduling the surgery, post-wedding, post-honeymoon, all that. That displays you never had any intention, because you get this hip surgery if this is a severe hockey injury, the way the KO Sports press release read. Right. He has a severe hockey injury. Is all right, well then get the surgery, rehab it, and then join us when you're healthy.
Right.
And if he ever had any intention of joining the team on time, he would have got the surgery, in May, in April. When he joined the team at the deadline and said, I can't play.
Yeah.
You could have got it any time between now and then and now. You're doing it now so that you don't have to report. Like, maybe that's a little conjecture, but like, it's the only way I can look at it is like if we're going to use the timing as evidence, is that's what they're thinking. And yeah, you see him lifting his wife or something and going, well, how hurt are you? Like, and there's probably a big difference between lifting her and playing in the NHL.
Oh, of course there is. but it is the principle.
Would you risk further injury? Like, right. And if it's not something you can hurt further, then why can't you play?
I've made the case on this show that while I do suspect the Flyers have some evidence that is, more than this, I do think a lot of their case really just boils down to, come on.
We all see what you're doing.
It boils down to common sense. And when you see the wedding pictures and the wedding videos, it just adds more to the common sense of this guy could probably play hockey if he really wanted to.
It seems as if the Flyers' whole argument is we don't have a smoking gun, but if you just look at everything, come on.
Yeah.
A couple other things before we get out of here. Radko Gudas, Elliot noted in his 32 Thoughts, he's going to attend the North American media tour for the Anaheim Ducks. Is Radko Gudas about to be the captain of a team?
Because they gutted their team. They have no other quality veterans.
Absolutely.
He's like the only good veteran they have
It's just, I won't say insane because I love Radko. We talked about him earlier this summer. I fucking love the career trajectory of Radko Gudas. Like,
good for Radko.
He's had so many ups and downs, and then it was like, man, this is a pretty decent player. And now he might be the captain of the Ducks. Yeah. Pretty cool. Speaking of the Ducks, tomorrow, Reviews Day, Tuesday Reviews Day, we're watching the Mighty Ducks. We're going to watch it tonight. I also might, just for funsies, I've never seen the entire, I don't know if it was a 30 for 30 or what kind of ESPN documentary, but the one they did on like the Ducks going to Anaheim and like making a team after the movie. Might watch that tonight too if I have time. So we're going to talk about them tomorrow. And finally, Charlie, we're going to maybe do this on Friday because you're not going to be here and I know you hate this shit.
Right.
For F Around Friday.
Okay.
Commissioner for a day. Talk about rule changes we'd implement and everything.
I don't hate rule changes.
You just get annoyed by it because it's nothing that's ever actually going to happen.
That is true. I find it unrealistic.
Yes.
But it's fun to talk about.
But in this 30-second thought, he said he talked to Sam Ersson and UPL, the Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the goalie in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he asked everyone there, like, what would you change about the NHL? And two goalies, Ersson and UPL, said, no more shootout. And this stood out to me simply
he's
because
pretty good at shootouts.
He was great at them.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He was really good at them last year.
Much better than Hart.
Yeah, considerably better.
Yeah.
It's like, but I get it. I really think I might be the last fan of shootouts left. Like, have you ever met anyone else that likes shootouts?
Yeah, not Flyers fans.
No, definitely not Flyers fans.
I've met fans that like shootouts. But
I
not
don't
Flyers
know if
fans.
there's anyone left who likes, and I want to be the last one. I want to be the final guy that when they finally get rid of them, I'm like, remember the fucking shootout, man?
I miss that.
Datsuk.
Malik Merrick.
Last day of the season.
Malik Merrick had the crazy between the legs, like the first one I did the between the legs goal because he went the shootout went I think like 14 rounds. And he was this bit defenseman who they never would have gotten a chance. And he was like, screw it. I'm gonna try to do a highlight reel goal. And he pulled it off.
Last day of the season, 2010. One of the best Flyers highlights of our lifetimes.
You're not wrong.
Shootout. All right.
Before we end it, we got some super chats.
Let's get to the super chats. We got a bunch of them today. Let's go to JH first. Nice casino ad read. Are you a prolific craftsman, Charlie? Might I find you throwing rocks? Here's $5 for a prop bet. I can see Charlie actually being like maybe a pretty decent cards player because math.
So I am a blackjack person.
I can see that.
I like blackjack. Blackjack is my game of choice. I am fascinated. I would like at some point to get into craps because it looks fun.
It looks so fun, but I'm terrified.
Here's my thing, and this has always been my view. This has been my view dating back to grade school when I was taking tests. I need to feel like I'm an expert at something before I actually do it, or else I just won't be confident at all. I don't understand the rules of craps. I don't understand. Like, I understand the basics. Like, I get the general things, but I don't understand all the betting things and all the things you can do and all the odds and what's smart and what's not. And I just haven't. Like, what I really need to do with craps is I need to go to one of those like casino nights where you don't bet with real money and just like sit at the table and play for nothing for like 3 hours and learn the game that way. And then once I feel like I get it all, then I would feel comfortable going into an actual casino and doing it and like betting real money. But until I understand the game, and I don't fully understand the game, I will never play craps at a casino for real money.
I think maybe if I watch season 4 of The Wire for a 400th time, I will understand Presbo's breakdown of it and finally understand craps, but I doubt it.
But I'm a blackjack fan.
Yeah, I can see that being. Another one from JH. How many more first-round picks do the Flyers need? 10?
100. Gave me all the first-round picks.
Yeah.
Every single first-round pick.
Somewhere between 69 and 14.
Well, they have 3 this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If they get a whole round, will that be enough? Maybe if they could have 32 first-round picks.
Yeah, it would end up being the worst first round in history.
It would. Yeah. The second round would be the best second round in history. From Gary B. If the D hits their ceiling with a few first-round picks we have potential for a deep playoff.
They have the potential for a deep playoff run, period. I mean, not now, but like with what they're building, with the assets they've collected. Yeah, if Michkov's a stud and Luchenko is a quality top 6 center and Bonk is a quality top 4 defenseman, they have 3 first-round picks coming this year. They hit on 1 or 2 of them. Of course, they could go on a deep playoff run. It's not, and that's, again, that goes back to the overarching point is that this could work. It could not work. It could fail. But I don't like the certainty that some fans seem to have that this is not going to work. I think it could work, but it's not destined to work. And in no way, shape, or form do I want to present myself as a Kool-Aid drinker of like, I know that this is going to work because I am convinced that Danny Briere is a brilliant general manager and the Flyers structure is perfect and they're drafting all the right people. I am very much not convinced of those things. I just think it's possible it can work. And I'm willing to give it time to see if it does work.
Last one from Adrian Franklin. Is it possible we could see a surprise make it through camp like Kaplan, Rizzo, or Tuamala?
Yeah,
maybe Tuamala
Kaplan, no, because he's going back to school. So he's not even going to be at camp. He's still in college.
Rizzo, kind of a grown-up already, got through college, so he's at least of the age and maturity that could potentially make it. We'll see if he's actually good enough. And Tuamala maybe is the best possible a wild card that could make it, probably him and Andre.
Well, I think number one, we should account for the fact that injuries could throw all this into a state of flux. Because if 3 guys get hurt in preseason, then we could certainly see surprises make the team because people got to make the team. They got to have a roster. Yeah. If 4 guys get injured, then boom, there's spots available. Yeah. And then, Emil Andre very well could make the team if Risto comes back and can't play, and then York breaks his leg and Drysdale is still injured. Then, Emil Andre probably is making the team. If everyone's healthy, I don't think there are that many spots available for surprises. Really, assuming everyone stays healthy, the spot that is theoretically available for a surprise is Brink's spot. If Bobby Brink has a good camp, I don't think any surprises are making this team. If Bobby Brink opens the door by having a mediocre or a bad camp, then is it that outlandish to think if Massimo Rizzo has the Brink camp from last year and Brink stinks that Rizzo could earn the job over him? I'm not expecting it because I think Brink's going to be fine in camp, but sure, they'll think about it. If Tuamala has a great camp and Brink stinks, they play the same spot. They're both right wingers. Sure, it's possible. I'm not expecting it because I think Brink is going to have a strong camp, but I don't think Brink is a lock. I think Brink still, remember going into last camp when John Tortorella said about Cam York, I don't even know if Cam York's an NHL player yet. And then Cam York had a strong camp and was a top 4 defenseman. I think they are fully expecting Bobby Brink to do the exact same thing that Cam York did at last camp, which is make it abundantly clear that I am an NHL caliber player and the idea that I am not is ridiculous. But if Bobby Brink shows up to camp and isn't good, I don't think he's a lock. And if he's the guy, where else are these other forwards going to play? They're not playing on the 4th line. They're not. Delorier's making the team. Hathaway's making the team. Paley's making the team. So if you have dreams that these guys are going to push out one of those guys, they ain't. You get Noah Cates is still there. They really like him. They're not getting in on the 4th line. If any of these guys are making the team, it's going to be because either players got injured or because one guy dramatically underachieved. Tyson Forrester's on this fucking team.
Yeah.
Bobby Brink is the guy where if somebody surprises, he's the guy they're pushing out. I just don't think he's going to struggle. But if he struggles, it does open the door.
And we got one more from Timbo Slice here. Calling it now, Frost, Michkov, Drysdale will be the power play dream team. That would be nice.
Cool.
What is a dream for this power play? 20%? Just like baseline.
If they break
baseline competence.
If they break 20%, I will
throw a fucking
I will temporarily reserve my criticism. I will I think 20% for me is that is the minimum for me to stop being like, this is unacceptable.
If they break 20%, I'm going to say we need to elect Rocky Thompson to Congress.
But the point I've made in past shows where they could jump 5% and I'll still be like Rocky Thompson should be fired.
Yeah.
Because 17%, while a dramatic improvement over last year, is unacceptable in today's NHL.
A dramatic improvement from last year is still bad.
Would still be unacceptable. Yeah. For me, they have to be 20% or higher for me to be like, they're on the right track with this.
Charlie, we did it again. We came into a show where we were like, we'll see. And we're about to hit
because you got me all riled up about rebuilding.
I love Ryle and Charlie.
Which is how I end up talking a lot, because then I start thinking about all the people on Twitter that are endlessly complaining about stuff that hasn't happened yet, and I get riled up.
I love it. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on the YouTube and hit that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. We'll be back with Tuesday Reviews Day tomorrow at 1 o'clock again. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. Follow the podcast wherever you find those at the podcast. Just search PHLY Flyers and you'll find us. And we have a new store. That's right. Store.allcitynetwork.com, the newest place to find all of your PHLY gear and for all of our All City teammates, including our newest friends over in Dallas. That's right. We have launched the Dallas All City Network, so we have to temporarily suspend the Dallas Sucks chance. I was very torn this morning between I hate them, but I want the company to succeed.
I'm very happy that Stars fans are going to be getting actual coverage, because that coverage, for a team that good, that coverage has been gutted by multiple publications. So I really think we have an opportunity with All City to fill a void that is much needed. As for their Cowboys coverage, I'm sure they are going to do a great job. I'm going to have a lot of fun chirping them.
Of course. And that's half the fun here at the All City Network. Yep. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay loose and sexy, Philly.
We all silly like the mayor.